Hi everyone, welcome to the very first video of my YouTube channel, which has been in the works for far too long. If you go to the About section of this page, you'll actually see just how long it's been in the works. In true type A fashion, it's taken me about a year to plan and strategize how I want this channel to be. But I'm finally here, so we can celebrate. If you don't already know me, my name is Lamia. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Zimbabwe, but I really am a global citizen, and the more I say that, the more I'm becoming aware of just how pretentious it sounds. Anyway, I'm currently based in Bangkok, just following along with that global citizen. I am an Enneagram type 1. I'm an INFJ as well, which basically just means I'm very idealistic. I wake up every day like, we could do better. I think the cool thing about being an INFJ is that we're not solely dreamers. We're also kind of like the people who will put our dreams into action, which is actually why I started this YouTube channel. So I'd love to sit here and tell you that my DMs are full of people, asking me questions like, how did you get such a refined sense of humor? Where did you get your clothing from? It's so Audrey Hepburn-esque. But that just would not be true. I mean, my DMs are full of people asking me, how did you get your UN internship? Can you proofread my cover letter? Can you help me with my personal statement for my university application? And so I'm here to deliver. My 2 a.m. thoughts include, thinking, I'm an introvert, I speak to 10 people maximum, and I'm always thinking, what if I could reach a larger audience? Imagine how many more people I'd be able to help, which ultimately, honestly, I think is my purpose here on earth. I really do feel like I'm just here to help people. I'm just here for service. So I've created this channel, this little corner of the internet, to basically inform and educate young people around the world about scholarships and global opportunities that could potentially transform their lives and hopefully the lives of others too. I would like this to be a space for everybody, but particularly people from developing countries, because of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, I'm particularly passionate about 4 and 5, quality education and gender equality, and I intend to spend the rest of my life making those 2 goals everybody's business. So naturally, I started thinking about what my first video could be on, and then I obviously thought, it's pretty much illegal to start with anything other than the Rhodes Scholarship. So as you can see from the title of this video, I will be briefly explaining the Rhodes Scholarship. So I'll start with an overview of the scholarship, and then I'll actually go through the checklist of all 3 stages of the scholarship. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I'm so excited. Before we get into the video, I need to disclaim that I will be exclusively referring to people who are actually applying to do their masters at Oxford. You can actually apply to do a PhD under the Rhodes Scholarship, but if that is your situation, I would actually just encourage you to have a look at the website, because that is just a whole different ballgame. I've left all the necessary links in the description. So the Rhodes Scholarship is an international postgraduate award for students to study for a minimum of 2 years at the University of Oxford. It was established through the will of Cecil John Rhodes in 1903, making it the oldest international postgraduate scholarship in the world. In their words, the Rhodes Scholarship aims to select outstanding young people with the potential to lead, who will make an impact for good in the world in later life. While there isn't an archetypical Rhodes Scholar, the one characteristic that all Rhodes Scholars share is that they're people who have a vision for how the world could be better, and they have the energy to act on those impulses, regardless of their study fields. Candidates are selected on the basis of primarily intellect, but secondarily character, leadership, and commitment to service. The 4 criteria which governed the Rhodes Scholarship way back in 1902 is actually still the criteria used today. Those being literary and scholastic attainments, energy to use one's talents to the full, truth, courage, devotion to duty, and sympathy for and protection of the weak, and moral force of character and instincts to lead. As of today, there are 102 scholarships awarded each year, and the scholarship covers full tuition fees, a Tier 4 visa, a one-way flight to Oxford, a monthly stipend to cover living costs, and I believe there's also a settling in allowance. The Rhodes Scholarship really emphasizes community, affording scholars the opportunity to build a community with their fellow Rhodes Scholars at the Rhodes House. I believe it's currently under construction, but students can also build a community, of course, within their Oxford colleges and, of course, within their degree programs. One can apply for the Rhodes Scholarship twice, and the Rhodes alumni is also a very thriving community, reinstating that the Rhodes Scholarship offers a lifelong community that extends way beyond one's days at Oxford. A few famous Rhodes Scholars that you may recognize include Susan Rice and Bill Clinton, and a couple of other people that you may recognize that I just don't. Like, I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street and I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man. Okay, so I really hope you're feeling inspired by now, and if you are, please hold tightly onto that inspiration, because this is where it gets deep. Like the Rhodes Scholarship, and I'm telling you this from experience, it's not for the faint-hearted. If I had £1 for every time I wanted to withdraw my application, I don't actually think I'd need a scholarship to pursue my master's at Oxford, and I'm an international student. Okay, so there are 7 steps from start to finish: checking eligibility, choosing an Oxford course, writing your personal statement, asking for reference letters, checking and gathering your documents, the social engagement, and finally, the final interview. So right off the bat, if you take anything from this video, it should be that whenever you come across a scholarship or an opportunity, the very first thing you should check is the eligibility. I cannot tell you how many dreams I have sold myself, how many times I have romanticized my new cottagecore themed life in Cambridge, all because I failed to check the eligibility before, wishful thinking. So, can you apply to the Rhodes Scholarship based on your age, nationality, qualifications, and English proficiency? Let's find out. As of today, there are 22 designated Rhodes constituencies. A constituency is a country, a group of countries and/or territories and/or states for the purpose of administering scholarships. These are the constituencies, and if you don't see your country or region represented, don't be discouraged, because you could actually potentially apply for the Global Scholarship, which is actually intended for students from unrepresented constituencies. If you happen to be a dual citizen, you need to check the rules on the Rhodes website, and I've left the link to the specific webpage in the description box. You should be over 18 and under 24. You should have a bachelor's degree minimum. You should meet the English language requirements on the website at the time of applying. Oxford is honestly every academic's dream. The course catalogue is so extensive, you're spoiled for choice. I have always been the kind of person who I don't think I've had that many choices when it comes to courses. But when I was doing my Rhodes Scholarship application, it took me at least 2 weeks to finally decide on what courses I'd be applying for, because I was also spoiled for choice. I eventually decided on doing 2 one-year degrees. So I was going to start with African Studies, and then I was going to go into Global Governance and Diplomacy. This is probably the most fun section of the application procedure. So have a good time, do your research. Make sure you don't just look at the website, but also go to the course page. By far, your personal statement is one of the most important components of your Rhodes Scholarship application. If I'm not mistaken, they give you 1,000 words to basically tell your story. Why you, why the Rhodes, why Oxford, why the degree program you've chosen. Do you have any idea about what kind of dissertation you want to write? Do you have any idea about the professor you'd like to do your thesis with? All those kind of questions. This is not the personal statement where you exercise modesty and play it cool. This is actually the personal statement you go in having just listened to a Kanye West kind of playlist, so that you're in that pompous kind of mood, because this personal statement, you're in the big league basically. You really need to sell yourself. There are plenty of resources out there about how to write an excellent personal statement, but if you're interested in hearing my take, put in the comments. I'd be happy to share. An interesting thing about the Rhodes Scholarship personal statement is that you're actually not allowed to share it with anyone. And I remember when I was applying, they actually made me tick a box to confirm that I hadn't shared it with anyone. So this is the section of the Rhodes Scholarship which really is make or break. I've applied for a bunch of things. And I always say that the Rhodes Scholarship was the most demanding application I've ever done. And the only reason I say that is because of this section. So the Rhodes Scholarship asks for a total of 6 references, which is really excessive. So 4 academic references to speak to your intellectual ability, and 2 character references to speak to your demeanor. I would highly advise you to reach out to your professors and teachers as early as possible, because they need to be submitted by the time you submit your application. I remember I found myself in an uncomfortable predicament because I kind of had to like remind some of my professors about 2 days to the deadline. So you don't really want to find yourself in that situation. So the minute you decide that you're officially applying, send those requests out. I do want to say, if there is a silver lining in so many references, it would be that you actually don't have to do too much explaining to these like professors and teachers about the Rhodes Scholarship, because so many of them are already aware of what it is. I found myself in a situation where a few of my professors had actually applied for the Rhodes Scholarship themselves. So the Rhodes Scholarship obviously asks for the usual documents: university transcripts, identification, English language proficiency test results. However, they also do ask for some unconventional transcripts, just to kind of like confirm that you actually lived under the jurisdiction in which you're applying. So don't leave this to the very last minute. When you're submitting your application, make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. Make sure you have your documents in a nice, neat little folder on your desktop so that they're just ready to go. And that brings us to the end of stage 1 of the application procedure. So if the Rhodes Committee decide that they like what they see, you will be shortlisted and invited to stage 2 of the application process, the social engagement. So it's usually a reception or a dinner, and the purpose of it is really intended to get to know the shortlisted candidates a bit better. In Zimbabwe, the social engagement is usually held at the Meikles, and I mean, like, you already know the vibes. If you're not Zimbabwean, I can only really describe the Meikles as a luxurious 5-star hotel, and it's just really bougie. I've heard that in the States, the social engagements are sometimes held at like prestigious high schools. Basically, I've heard that the vibes are immaculate. I've heard that the appetizers calm one's nerves. And finally, if you have managed to impress your fellow dinner party guests, you will be shortlisted once again and invited to the final interview. So I never made it to this stage of the application process, but I have heard that it is extremely intense, as you can imagine. You're in an interview room with about 6 to 9 panelists for about 30 to 45 minutes, and questions are coming your way from every direction, and not just questions about yourself, questions that could be related to your chosen study field or not. I have heard that the purpose of these questions is not so much for you to like arrive on a specific answer, but more so for the panelists to kind of get an understanding of the way you think. There's actually a fantastic resource which I was using to prepare because, stay ready, you don't have to get ready. If I can still find that list of potential questions for Rhodes Scholarship interviews, I will link it in the description box. And if the panelists are once again impressed with your performance, you could be the next Rhodes Scholar. To date, applying for the Rhodes Scholarship is one of the best decisions I've ever made, despite the fact that I was unsuccessful. And I really do believe that just if you apply to the Rhodes Scholarship, it's a win-win situation, and I will be elaborating on what I mean by that in a future video. I hope to see you there. If you're even remotely considering applying to the Rhodes Scholarship, I 1000% advise you to just go for it. Don't self-disqualify, put your best foot forward. If you know of anybody that could be a perfect candidate for the Rhodes Scholarship, please do share this video with them. And please do keep me posted on the outcome, even if it's a year from now. As you could hopefully tell from this video, I am a huge fan of the Rhodes Scholarship. If ever they were on the hunt for a mascot, I would be the nominee most likely to win. However, that doesn't mean that I am oblivious to its flaws. And that's a major clue into my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.